Welcome, savvy investors, to yet another YouTube channel live and also Facebook. I thought I'd do a little bit of a surprise for everybody. So for those that are going to be joining us, and for those that don't necessarily know who I am, Mike Ponte, I'm the founder of Savvy Investor and longtime Canadian real estate investor. And we've got yet another great training session on Sunday. And if you're recognizing the background's a little bit different, it's because I'm dialing in from Canmore, Alberta. Beautiful out here. I wish I could show all the mountains. Absolutely stunning for everybody. But today's session is a real important one, and it's really about learning about, is this the right time to be investing in real estate or not? There's a lot of turbulence in the air. We don't know what's going on. So if you think this is a great time to be investing in real estate or be buying in real estate, post it in the chat. Is it a good time or is it not? So go ahead and throw it in the chat. Make sure you kind of communicate. Let's keep this engaging. So for many investors out there, it can be extremely confusing and also very, very challenging out there. With everything kind of going on, and rightfully so. We are seeing, some really interesting trends out there with prices starting to kind of drop. We're even hearing some of the F words going on, the terminology of foreclosures. We're starting to hear a little bit about that. So what do we do if we're actually wanting to pursue acquisitions, but is this the right time or not? And if not, what should we be doing right now? And so today I'm extremely honored to have not just one, but two amazing guest panelists to kind of join us and talk on this specific topic. I'll be joined today by no other than Danielle Chiasson and also Kory MacKinnon to share some of their amazing wisdom with our savvy investor community. So Danielle and Kory, for those that don't know, they are absolutely no stranger in this real estate investing space. And as you'll see, these two, they're all over social media. They're both serial entrepreneurs, real estate investors, and absolutely amazing coaches to hundreds of students literally across the country. So as another means of continuing to support the real estate investing community, they've actually tag teamed together to host amazing monthly events in Ontario to help continue to educate investors in their real estate investing journey. So these two are an absolute wealth of knowledge, and we are very, very fortunate to have them share in our panel discussion today. So before we kind of get things going and get started, I just want to highlight, as soon as I pull this up here for everybody, that this episode is actually brought to you by our trusted partners, Rocket Station Virtual Assistants for real estate investors. Rocket Station is the leading virtual assistant company who specializes in supporting real estate investors and in our community. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with some of those mundane tasks like bookkeeping, tenant screening, social media marketing, or other administrative assistants, then consider hiring a Rocket Station Virtual Assistant as being part of your investment team. So with that being said, if you want to learn more about Rocket Station Virtual Assistants, go visit their website at thesavvyinvestor.ca, Rocket Station. So in addition to that, I also want to highlight that this is a YouTube Live. And if you haven't done so already, please take a moment to also subscribe to our channel as we want to continue to provide value to our investing community. And at the same time, please give us a thumbs up and also a like, and keep you guys informed as we are updating videos on a regular basis. So let's get to the topic at hand. And more importantly, let's do a little bit of a welcome to our good friends, Danielle and Kory, and bring them out to the stage. Guys, welcome. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome, sir. Thanks for having us. Thanks for that great introduction.
Oh, thank you. That
was an amazing introduction. But I have to say this, before you get started, Mike, I have to tell you, I had no idea. Great minds think alike, and I love cliches. And I don't know if you know this. I didn't know this about you, but we use Rocket Station. I have a team from Rocket Station. And in fact, I'm hiring yet one more person. On Tuesday, I have my discovery calls. And so, I just want to give a shout out to Rocket Station. So I didn't know that you use them as well.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this. Extra plug for Rocket Station, guys. Like I said, for those that are looking to kind of grow and expand, as you can hear from other industry experts, we're all at a position where we're all growing our businesses. I don't know about you guys, Kory and Danielle. You like bookkeeping? I hate bookkeeping. That's not my
sport. I also have somebody from Rocket Station too. So
get rid of that stuff. Move on to some bigger and better things. So that's awesome. So guys, you know what? I'm sure everybody knows you. You guys are super famous and popular out there. But for those that don't necessarily know who you are, because we do have savvy investors literally all over North America, maybe if you don't mind, just sharing a little bit about yourselves. Just so you can connect with people all over the place. So if you wouldn't mind just highlighting who you are, what you do, and just so people get a better chance to know who you are.
Sure. So I'm, and again, we're mostly like Ontario known, but I'm born and raised in Southwestern Ontario. bounced around a lot of like value type markets. I live in Sarnia, Ontario, and I used to be a corporate trainer for a company called Student Works Painting. So every year we teach these college and university age students how to go run their own businesses. I did that for 17 years. Used to be a national level athlete. Now I'm a dad of 4 kids, super busy. And, my mission is just to help serve and see people struggle less when it comes to their finances and how to navigate situations like what we're going through here the past year, right? Like this is not, I'm 48 and, but, lived through a few cycles, right? Seeing my parents struggle, seeing, things struggle when I was, in high school jobs and working retail and all that sort of stuff. So this too shall pass, but you got to make sure you're making the right decisions for sure. So. Agreed.
Great stuff. Danielle?
Yeah, and for myself, I was born and raised in the Maritimes in Eastern Canada. I'm a mother of 3 kids, and my passion really is real estate. So I got into real estate investing at a relatively young age back in the day when it was harder, back in my 20s. I don't want to tell you how many years ago. It was over 20 years ago. That's all I'm saying. And and I thought I knew everything because I was a landlord and nobody in my circle had any properties. And so I thought I had it made. And then in 2013, I decided to take it to the next level, make real estate investing a career, went down to the States because, as you know, Mike, back then there wasn't much up here. And so I had to go down to the States and got educated. And that's when I shifted from being an amateur investor to a sophisticated investor. And that was all through education. So I spent 2 years educating myself, ended up flipping for a number of years, did a bunch of properties, learned a lot. I mean, I got dirty. I have Carhartts, or however you say that, Carhartts and steel-toed boots, you name it, I got it. Got a little bit dirty, learned hands-on how to not just, invest in real estate, but also flip properties. And then went from flipping into multifamily acquisitions and did that for a couple of years. And now, throughout that journey, Mike, and to Kory's point, there's so many people out there that need the education and the help. Yeah. And saw what I was doing, and I'm sure it's a very same story with you, where people see what you were doing, and then they're reaching out saying, "Hey, can you teach me how to do that?" And so, I mean, I've been on stages, and people just wanted to learn and to grow, and I really found that was so rewarding, and I'm very passionate about helping people. And so now with COVID, I decided to shift from just doing one-to-one and building a platform to do one-to-many. And this is where now we're collaborating with powerhouses like yourself and Kory and everybody else, and just bringing the best in the business so that we can deliver quality to many. And so that's really the passion.
I agree, and 100%. And like, I think one of the big things that I've noticed forever, Kory, I think you touched on this, is been there, done that, and some of the challenges that are out there. And it's like, we've gone through some of the cycles. It's been really, really challenging. And as I've highlighted in past webinars and stuff, this is the first time people have gone through a cycle. This is like the first time. There was this assumption that real estate investing goes up 20% per year every year because that's normal. And so even though I'm in Alberta today, in Vancouver and Toronto and back east, it's like that was a normal thing. And then all of a sudden you're seeing stuff kind of like this. It's just like popping up in the woodworks. And this is headline stuff, guys. Again, there's still so much more. So don't get too caught up in the headlines. And I know Kory and Danielle we'll talk into this a little bit. You hear stuff like this, you're seeing stuff, home prices falling again in October. It's kind of depressing. And I can understand that. And then in initial, this is kind of some of the things we're starting to hear is you're hearing mortgage defaults and forced homes for sale and all this stuff like that. And this is some of the challenges that we're talking about. And, the other one that's hit here in BC is some of these new regulations that are happening in short-term rentals. Now, short-term rentals in BC, it's almost non-existent. It's a real challenge for a lot of people that are getting into the space.
That one through fast, man.
Oh my God, did they ever? And so, I'm so happy to have you guys here because we are all talking to a lot of real estate investors constantly. And so maybe I can ask you guys the question is, what, based on some of the current challenges that we're seeing in the market, what are you hearing from some of your students, your fellow peers and colleagues about what are some of the challenges they're facing? So maybe you wouldn't mind sharing this, because I think it's also important to also highlight for those that are struggling, you aren't alone. There's a lot of people having some issues. So maybe you wouldn't mind sharing some of the things that you're hearing and seeing in your space. So,
yeah, people definitely aren't alone. I think we're actually all in the same boat. Like we're all together on this stuff, right?
Both hands.
The biggest thing is just deals not penciling out, right, the way that they should, or that the way that people want it to. And you know, lots of things are going up. Like we're just literally doing a training session with my coaches yesterday, and they're talking about an insurance company that just sends an email, oh, due to inflation, your insurance premium went up by 20%. But it's financing, right? So if you're trying to get into multifamily, or if you're doing flips with hard money, just, you know, your money input costs are much higher. But there's still people that are making things work. Like we still have students that are doing burrs. They might just not be perfect burrs. They're going into more value markets. They're looking in certain price points. Certain price points are still working. You know, maybe even more turnkey products, right? So we've got some people that are going to, like, let's say a Brantford, Ontario, and they'll look for a turnkey fourplex because it doesn't make sense for them to spend all the time, go renovate it all just to get a little bit of a lift. Just take something that's pretty much turnkey, or buy something that 2 or 3 of the units are good out of 4. And then you can go do that other unit turn when the market's a little bit stronger and when you want to actually do that refinance or what have you, right? So, you know, but you can still make money lending money. You can still make, there's money out there to be had. The wholesalers are still wholesaling. It's just volumes down. Realtors volumes down, mortgage brokers volumes down. Covering a lot of stuff here. I don't want to steal any thunder from Danielle here. He's also super connected to a lot of people, talking to people every single day about what's going on. So
he's going to cover it all, and there's going to be nothing left for me. Actually, no. You know what?
Danielle, you can go.
But you know what though? Honestly, everything that he said and then some. But the biggest thing that I've noticed, in order to make it work right now in the market, like we need to pivot, right? And so we've gotten so used to things going a certain way, and it's been relatively easy. And now we need to get outside of the box, and we need to make adjustments to our strategies. The structure that we used didn't work. That doesn't mean there isn't another structure that works. And so you have to change things up. So maybe instead of doing things solo, maybe now you got to do it with a JV partner, right? Instead of taking your time doing a flip, now speed is critical in order for a flip to be working. And so you have to have your contractors and everything in place. I mean, really, it's making real estate investors who were good, forcing them to become great, because they have to step up and level up and be able to pivot. And so looking at the structure, like one of the things too that I've noticed is not just structuring the deal differently. A lot of ETBs, I'm sure, Mike, you know this, it's really, really coming up in the market now. Assumable mortgages. Assumable mortgages were never a thing here in Ontario. And there's a lot of lawyers still that don't even know that it's legal or it exists here. And we're having to train these lawyers and say, well, no, we can do this. And porting mortgages is another strategy that was never really used before that now people are using, because there's such a difference, there's such a spread in where the mortgages were from a year and a half ago onwards to where they are today. So porting them or assuming them is a different strategy now that we're pushing and adapting more. Like I said,
in general, just being more creative, right? Like people need to be more, you got to think outside the box, because like, it's not as easy as like, okay, I'll just go on MLS, I'll make a few phone calls, I'll do some walkthroughs, I'll go buy something. Like, no, you gotta ninja level things up here. And you're like,
I agree.
Go from great to outstanding.
And the other thing is too, a big one too, Mike, is changing the market. Like, you know, if the numbers, everybody wants to be in the hot market or in the great market or in a nice market. But as a real estate investors, you got to go where the numbers make sense. And so the other big thing to your audience, and by the way, thank you so much for inviting us to speak to Savvy. It's really an honor to speak to your community. Truly an honor to speak to your community. But to the members of Savvy and everyone else who's listening, if it doesn't work in your market, go into a different market and make sure, more than ever, it is so important today to be conservative with your numbers, because the market right now is a yo-yo. We're going up and down, up and down, up and down, and we don't really know where the low is going to be. And so be very conservative with your numbers. Long-term strategies right now, so that you can ride this wave, is probably good, and don't over leverage.
Great advice. Like some great stuff. In fact, you guys, I think you answered like the next 4 questions all in one shot. So thanks for that. Now this is going to be like a 5-minute session. No, I'm just joking. But honestly, for those that are actually joining us, this is for you. Okay, if you guys have got questions, ask. Put them in the comments. We'll make sure we get some questions. Listen, this is an honor to have Kory and Danielle share some of their amazing wisdom with our group. And so this is an opportunity to ask all the questions that you have. If you're struggling, you're not alone. We're all here together. We're all here to support each other. This is one of the reasons why I love having Kory and Danielle here, because we all have a very similar mindset of supporting the community. We've been through some of the challenges that a lot of people have been through. So, I agree with everything that you guys are saying. And so one of the problems that I shared with you guys just a few seconds ago is we get so caught up with the negative headlines. Okay. It's just like and it's so easy to find. Let's be very honest. Like I can open up my phone and just pick out something, and it just absolutely sticks out like a bloody sore thumb. And for a lot of investors that have been doing this a long time, you're seeing people, I can only comment from what I'm hearing, is people literally just giving up. They're just like, I don't want to do this real estate investing thing anymore. It's not working for me. Or on the flip side, you're also seeing people that are trying to get in. And they're just like, is this the right time? Should we be doing this? Look how volatile this is. I'm not sure if I should be doing this. So I'd like to hear kind of from your experience. Have you had situations from your past that kind of emulated something like this? And maybe how do we as investors kind of change our mindset a little bit when it comes to looking at this as a potential opportunity, or is it an opportunity? So
I think there's opportunity in every single market, every single day, right? It's just a matter of how much work is it going to take to go and turn over every single stone in that market, talk to every single person who controls the inventory. Because like a lot of the stuff trades off market, right? Like this stuff doesn't hit the market. So you really got to be connected to the who's who of, especially in bigger buildings, of like how this stuff trades hands, right? And it is very important. But it's not like it's impossible. Like real estate investing is not supposed to be easy. Anything worthwhile in life is supposed to be hard. It's just harder today because the inventory is whacked out, numbers are whacked out. But there's also positives, right? Rents are increasing. Contractors are getting hungrier again. My gosh, if you're trying to do this in COVID, good luck trying to get a contractor. Some of the best, most loyal people I was using for 10 years was like begging them to do simple things like a roof patch or whatever it might be, right? So, I think it's challenging in some parts of what you need to do as a real estate investor, but there's also pros too.
Honestly, like I just want to come back to the stories that you shared, right, that are being posted in the media, and that is really what is causing people to have a lot of apprehension in getting out into the market. And so I think for those people who are wondering, like, is it a good time or should I be investing in real estate right now? Look, go back to the investing principles. When people are running, you should be buying, right? When people are exiting, that's when you should be getting in. And that is just a fundamental principle, whether it's in the financial market or the real estate market. But when you're sitting there and you're inundated with all of these articles and all of this negative stories that you're reading, you're really getting it from the wrong sources. So I think it's really important to get into the groups or the communities of the people that are actually watching what the direct impacts are on the markets and whether it's a good time to buy, not to buy, what the risks are, because those are the people that are doing it. So when you're listening to a journalist who's interpreting data from somewhere else, who's not in the market, it's not their job. They don't live and breathe the real estate market. They don't live and breathe the economic market, but yet they're interpreting, maybe, one of the government officials saying, okay, we're going to do this, or we might do that. And they're interpreting their own thoughts into it. This is not what they do. Or a small
region of Toronto, a small region of Toronto prices drop, right? What about, consider the whole area.
Everything else. Exactly.
That aren't dropping.
So I think it's really important to be a part of a community like Savvy or a community like Infinite or a community like Strategic, and come in and listen to the people who are actually doing it, and then have intelligent conversations instead of sitting at the kitchen table with your dad, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your mother, and your aunt, who are very opinionated but have never bought a property except for maybe their primary residence. And so I think that's really a part of it, because what we put into our mind can either nurture our mind or be toxic to it. And you have to be really mindful about what you accept to be a truth, right? I mean, that's just part of it. So I'm really big on mindset and all of that stuff and what you feed your mind. And so if you want to get educated, or if you want to get into the real estate journey and start your journey in real estate, I think it's really important that you get the knowledge and the education from the right people.
Agreed. And it sounds like you met my aunt, so that's interesting. So,
I love it.
I call it drunk Uncle Bob, right? You got, everybody's got an uncle who's very highly opinionated, and it's like, maybe that worked when you were a teenager, but do not listen to what they are not an expert by any means.
So Kory's met my uncle too, so there you go. So that's great. Yeah, it's a family affair today, so that's good. No, honestly, I agree with everything you guys are saying. And I think the important part for everybody that's listening today, and hopefully this resonates, is talk to experience, to be honest with you. Talk to people that have been through some of these challenging times and learn what they're doing. And I'll just quickly share myself, because this is a panel discussion. For me, most of my success actually came after 2008, to be very honest. While people were all running for the hills, we were gobbling up properties like you would not believe. And all that negativity, all those horrible news, everything that's going on, and jokingly, but not jokingly, when we're talking about family members, my parents, my dad, thought I was off my flippin' rocker, to be really honest. He's like, why are you doing this? Are you out of your mind? Like, this is crazy. Have you not been watching the news? Yes, but in the big perspective, and we're looking at the big picture, look at what the opportunity really presented themselves. And honestly, that was our foundation of our success. Truly, really, really was. And my feeling is this, Kory, I agree with you. I think there's opportunity in every market, up, down, doesn't really matter. And I've got students, and I'm sure you guys do too as well, that are flipping killing it right now, because they've been able to be creative in their approach. And as Danielle said, this during times like this is what makes good investors or average investors great. But you have to work your ass off to do that, because you have to go differently. You have to do things differently, because the good old days when prices were just going up, everybody was an amazing investor. Remember how we were all so amazing investors like 2 years ago? Just amazing investors, right? Geniuses. But this is the time that really it starts to show really your success, right? So yeah,
it's really testing the skills of people and the resourcefulness of people, because that is critical right now for any real estate investor, is to be resourceful. And if you're not being resourceful in a challenging time, you're going to sink, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to swim when you're being challenged. And so you really need to be resourceful and creative and get out there. And the better the network you have, the more resources you have available to you, right? Just want to give a shout out to Jaydeep, who's on the live. So thanks for joining us, Jaydeep. Thanks for the shout out.
We'll see you on Wednesday, JD. I'm sure you'll be there. And one point,
go ahead, Kory.
Mentioned something like a lot of people mark their only success through, how much did how many properties did I acquire, right? Acquisition. Well,
how many doors? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, what about at this time? This is a great time to learn, study, understand, and
so good.
Stay liquid, so that when there are great opportunities, you can just pounce on them, right? And the interesting thing about right now that we've never seen before, a lot of this is sort of man-made, right? We're printing a lot of money so people can hold on longer and longer and longer.
Exactly.
But things are starting to break, right? I was literally talking to a person who, salesperson at a car dealership. I'm like, what's it cost to finance a car these days? He's like, it's like 10%. And a lot of the big banks are actually getting out of, they don't want to finance cars anymore. Like BMO is pulling the plug on financing cars, and a bunch of the other, bigger banks in Canada are going to do the same. So we're going to start to see, we just haven't had enough runway, call it whatever you want, enough time to see some of this pain kind of it's going to be happening for years after this. Businesses are getting obliterated. People that don't know what they're doing are getting obliterated. People that bought high, unless you had deep pockets and you realize 10 years down the road, I'll be fine. No, they bought a house for way too much. They have to sell it for a loss. These stories are happening, right?
And there's more defaults, and that's why the banks are pulling out. Like, I had this conversation with Kory when he told me about this, and I'm like, why are the big banks pulling out of the financing for cars? Is because people are defaulting and trying to get away from the banks and from paying the banks. And so it's going to also happen with mortgages, which is just starting to show up now.
Just starting. Yeah, I agreed with you. Yeah, I think the belts are being tightened all across the board, everywhere. Companies, people, it's tightening all over the place, right? And so with that being said, you can get caught up with this. And I agree with you, both of you two, is just like, you know what? You have to look at. I always say this: if there's look at the opposite of what can happen from this. A lot of this negative news. This is all the stuff. What's the opportunity from this situation that's happening? Like, really ask yourself that in anything that goes on. Okay, this is a real bad situation that's going on. Like, we talk about the stuff in 2008. I'm sure we can all agree. If knowing what we know today, we would have all bought a lot more property down in the States, knowing back in 2008, 2009, knowing what we know today. If I could stick my hands up, both feet up, they would, because I would absolutely have done that, right? But I treat this I'm looking at this as an opportunity. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about opportunities. Is how do investors go about identifying opportunities in this uncertainty? And I think you've alluded to some of those things. Danielle was highlighting, maybe it's different markets, maybe it's different strategies. There's investors that have only been focused on one specific thing, and they're just like, it's not working anymore. It isn't. So what's your thoughts? And maybe you wouldn't mind sharing, how do you kind of pivot? What do you do?
You want to talk a bit about flips?
You know what? Like last year, we were telling our students not to flip because the interest rates were going up so high that you couldn't anticipate what your ARV is, your after repair value. And it was a very, very scary market to be doing any flips, and people that were flipping were getting caught. But now people are like, oh, why are you telling us to flip again? Well, because now it's a little bit more stable, but you can still do that strategy. You just need to be very conservative with your numbers still. And so if you're always conservative, whatever the interest rate is now, add another 50 basis points to it, maybe a whole point even, as long as the numbers make sense. Essentially, when you're a real estate investor, you should always be reading the numbers. And the biggest mistake that people make as a real estate investor is that they're bending the numbers to try to make the deal work. And you know what? You need to be patient. If you bend the numbers, and that, by the way, is an emotional thing. And it's also something that we're always telling our students is that you need to practice removing emotion from your decision-making and start identifying when you're becoming emotional and walk away and come back and start underwriting again, right? So when you start feeling that you're kind of like trying to, your emotions are getting in there, you know what? Just walk away, come back in an hour. That's it. That's all you need to do. And like practice being logical and not emotional, right? But essentially, there's a lot of different strategies that are working right now. But the biggest one is practicing patience. Really, you need to practice patience right now because the deals are out there, but it's almost like looking for a needle in a really small haystack. It's not a big haystack, but you need a little bit of patience to find that needle, right? Because the deals are still out there. I mean, I'm sure you got your students too that are killing it right now. We got students
people are still transacting. And here's a really good filter kind of to what Danielle was saying. One of my very first coaches when it came to real estate, he said, remember this, Kory, if you take one thing from this like mastermind day, you don't have any problems until you buy the house, right? As soon as you buy the house, now you're assuming all that previous owner's problems and the problems of renovating it, refinancing, all that sort of stuff, right? So you have no problems, which actually puts you in a position of power, which is good to know, right? So yes, take a little break from running the numbers, but because there's best case scenario, worst case scenario, and most likely scenario. So definitely likely scenario or somewhat worst case scenario, not to be pessimistic, but like you got to budget in more contingency money. You got to budget in that your money's going to, go up more. Renovation costs, everything, right? So, but no, flips are still working. I'd just say, like, don't even look at a flip unless you're going to be making maybe twice as much as what you used to make. Maybe be creative and see if the owner will actually do like a hold until sold. Like they'll actually want to be the bank for you for a little while and give you a reasonable interest rate. There's still people raising money at like 3-4% because, they just, they've known you for a while. They know your track record. They know that these higher rates aren't going to be around forever. Or at whatever the bank's giving, like 5-6%. So people just have to work a little bit harder to get better at their craft so they can actually find these things.
Totally.
Here's what I'd love to jump in on and also say, and I think this is a couple of things actually, that is not really talked about enough. And that is number one, if you are an existing real estate investor and you have a portfolio, instead of standing still, because a lot of people right now are standing still and doing nothing. And they're just kind of frozen because they're like, not sure what's going on. So I'm just going to like hit the hold button, right? Well, as an existing real estate investor, you should be looking at your existing portfolio and optimizing what you have now. And a lot of people aren't doing that. The laws have loosened up a little bit in a lot of municipalities where you can add extra units and the numbers still make sense for that because the rents are very strong. And so you can optimize and work with what you already have. And the other thing is that if you're a new investor and you're not sure, Well, maybe you're not buying now, but why aren't you out there pounding the pavement, walking through properties and getting that experience? You should be out there looking at what's going on. Have conversations with mortgage brokers, talk to different realtors in different markets, learn to get your finger on the pulse. I mean, right now you could be out there.
Such a great time to learn.
Getting your craft mastered so that when things are a little bit more solid or you're a little bit more comfortable, then you can pull the plug. I mean, if you're not comfortable to pull the plug today, that's because you don't have enough education, right? And so
I agree.
Yeah, get out there and learn. Like, and what we're doing right now with our businesses, it's a little bit slower right now, but we're not taking our foot off the gas. We're just shifting where we're putting our time and energy into. Right. And so now it's like, okay, let's look internally. Let's look at our system, like on a business standpoint. So businesses are slower too right now. But instead of going out there and complaining that the business is slow, we're looking at it going, okay, what can we do now? Because it's not going to be slow forever. What can we do now so that when things pick up, we can hit the ground running and we can deliver and fulfill to our clients as much as we can. And so like, never take your foot off the gas. It's maybe just changing, course a little bit of a course correction, right? But there's a massive opportunity right now for businesses to restructure, to set themselves up for future success.
Man, I know we could be talking for hours. Like, it's just like, seriously, this is just such good stuff. I hope you guys are all paying attention, taking a lot of notes, because there's some real big nuggets that are being shared. And I couldn't agree more about the risk management side of things of this part of the business. This is not an emotional game, guys. Numbers are numbers. It's what it is. If you are fudging the numbers to make the deal work, there's only one person you're fooling. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. 2 fingers, point. That's it. Okay. And that's the truth of it. And it is. Danielle, you nailed it. Biggest mistake I see out there, period. Okay. Having adequate reserve funds, making sure you're buying properly. For me, especially when it comes in this type of market, are you, there's deals out there, but are you also planning that maybe the market is going to take a dip? Have you taken in some contingency to say, I maybe need to get a better price for this property than maybe just what the street price is? Because if it's going to drop 5 points, did I capture that in my particular number? And to kind of add some more pieces that you just highlighted is like for everybody should be getting their ducks in a row. I know for myself, I'm sure you guys are doing the same thing. I am doubling down exactly like you. And so for me, as I shared earlier, like I'm looking at this as like 2008 2.0. To be honest with you, do I see the same challenges? I have no idea. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm getting into a lot of cash, lots and lots of cash. And for a lot of people that may be sitting here watching this and just like, oh, you know what, is this a good time to buy? I don't know if it's a good time to buy or do this. It wasn't that long ago, probably about a year and a half ago. Do you remember we were all saying, man, I really wish I could buy a piece of real estate where I didn't have to go over $200,000 over asking price. I wish I can do an inspection on the property. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to do?
I texted a realtor the other day. He called me back within like 2 minutes and like was just wanting to just, I'll send you all these listings, all these other listings that aren't even on the market. And like, people are ready to serve, people are ready to work for sure. And just to Danielle's point about optimizing things, like we own a storage facility. We have some sea cans there for just extra space instead of having to build stuff. Sometimes we just drop sea cans on the ground. And called my sea can supplier. I'm like, what's the price of sea cans these days? They're actually they're the same price as they were 5 years ago. So they've $1,000 less per sea can. I'm like, okay, that's kind of telling me like that would probably be a good time to go pick up 5 more sea cans and drop them around because I'm not going to lose on these things and I'll pay them off in 2 years. So yeah,
nailed it. Like I think at the end of the day, there's a ton of strategies out there. There's tons of opportunities, tons of deals. You just got to be creative. You got to talk to a lot of people. I think exactly like you said, Kory and Danielle, connect, network, talk to people that are actually doing things and acquiring deals. How are they doing? Assess it, pick their brains in a lot of ways. Even better yet, don't just pick their brains. Maybe take them out for lunch or something like that, right? I'm always happy for a lunch. You guys like lunches? I always love lunches. I'll have to take you guys out for lunches, right? So, but honestly, like that's the real way to do this. So we're going to keep this a little bit tight for this Saturday, for this Sunday session, because I know it's probably a beautiful day in everybody's neck of the woods, want to spend some time with family. But I got one last question for both of you two, and it's always a fun one, okay? And again, we're not going to hold these individuals accountable, including myself. But maybe what's your thoughts? Is this a good time to be buying? Maybe I can ask both of you guys, what are you seeing in your crystal balls? I heard Kory say earlier, he bought his crystal ball at Walmart. I got mine at a secondhand store as well. So maybe not as clear, but I just have to polish it up a little bit more. So maybe your thoughts in the next year and a half, if you don't mind. And again, this is based on our opinion, based on what we're seeing, but I'd love to kind of get your perspective, just to kind of maybe help people open their eyes on some different thoughts that they should be taking into consider listening to some other individuals that have been doing this a while.
Wow, so 12 year and a half, right? So 12 to 18 months from now. Again, I think you're doing some of the right things here, Mike. Going and getting, as you know, making sure you got some powder in the gun, right? Going and finding cash, even selling properties that don't make sense. Like, why not trade up one of your dog Lego type properties and go use that money to invest in something else? Because these rates can't last that long. And hopefully we didn't lose Mike.
Keep going.
These rates can't last that long. And I think we're going to start to see true bottoms at that point. We're going to start to see rates coming down. So, you know, start to get those relationships with the buyers that want to sell. Maybe they don't want to sell this year because of capital gains or something like that. But get in their crosshairs and make sure that you have first right of refusal for some of these properties when it does come time. Because if you wait for the market to turn, I mean, it's going to be a feeding frenzy. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be an auction.
Yeah,
effect.
agreed.
There's always deals out there. I mean, I've just kept my lead flow and my purchasing pretty consistent over time, right? So it's, you know, and that would be the equivalent of just buying stocks, like dripping into stocks. You buy X amount per month, per year, all the time, right? So, but I think there'll be probably the best opportunities that we've ever seen, because we've never seen a market be shattered and shaken up like this before, the financial markets.
Yeah, not in our lifetime, not like this. But, you know, essentially, again, I just think that it's important for people to get out there and meet with people that are doing it and have those conversations. Even if you're not ready to pull the trigger now, you should still always be putting one foot in front of the other in some capacity. And so the biggest thing for me is, and what I always tell the students, like, you know what, make those phone calls, have those conversations. You need to keep your finger on the pulse and know what's going on out there. And then once you know that, then it's easier to make a decision, right? When an opportunity does show up, because you know what's going on. Because what'll happen for a lot of people who aren't moving forward and are hitting the pause button, all of a sudden an opportunity is going to hit their desk or show up in their life, and they're not going to be able to see it as an opportunity because they don't know what's going on right now out in the market. And so having the conversations with the people, continuing to master your craft, get more strong. Like, if you're not solid at underwriting right now is a great time to walk through properties, run some number and underwrite it. And if you have a coach, run it by the coach and see what feedback you get from the coach. And then the coach is going to say, yeah, we like it for this. No, we don't like it for that. And guess what? Now you're getting stronger and you're learning how to properly underwrite a property. Like, now is an amazing time to keep moving. And, you know, if you're not moving, you're dying. Like, at the end of the day, you have to move to keep growing.
Well, if you're not pre-approved, you don't have your power team members. And if you haven't run numbers, you know, dozens, if not hundreds of times, then like, you're going to be trying to learn all this stuff as the markets are recovering. So,
I agree. There was a comment that Danielle just made. If you're not moving, you're dying. And I couldn't agree with that more, you know, and that was a lesson I learned many years ago. I stopped, right? Just stopped. And it was crazy, actually, to be honest with you. I always like to use the analogy. It's like trying to roll a giant boulder, raising money, finding deals. The hardest part is at the very beginning. Okay. But once you get your knowledge and education, continue to roll. You know what? There's challenges that are happening now. There's been challenges for the last, as long as I've been doing this, to be honest with you. Financing, it just never ends. It's just about adjustment and changes, and you just pivot and adjust. It's just yet another obstacle. It's just what it is, right? So,
well, that's what we are, right? We're problem solvers, and there's never been a time in the, you know, from human beings living on Earth that there hasn't been challenges. Always been challenges, and every situation, every challenge we have, it's not unique. Someone else has already solved it before, so we just need to tap into those people, whether it's past, present, future, and
find a community. You got to find the community.
Get into a good room.
Yeah, sounds good. Actually, perfect segue. Actually, really great stuff. So, first of all, you guys, thanks again for sharing. Honestly, it's been a treat. Like I said, I know we could be talking for hours and hours and hours. We'll bore everybody that's listening on this joke, and hopefully everybody was enjoying this today's session, because it really, really, really is great. So again, give us a thumbs up, just share a comment, even if you're watching the recording as well. But let's get to it. You guys have tag team together. Congratulations. Amazing stuff to host events to support our investing community. And so this isn't a Danielle community. This isn't a Kory community. This isn't a Mike Ponte community. And Danielle, I've had this discussion lots. We're all in this together, all of us. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with it. And so Honestly, you guys done some amazing things. So maybe if you wouldn't mind, I'll just throw it up here right now for everybody to kind of get a sense of what this is, as soon as I can figure this out. So you guys have an event coming up next week. So maybe you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what this is all about.
Yeah, so this is our strategic entrepreneur networking event for our community that we put on every single month. It is live in person in Oakville. And for those of you that aren't in Oakville, just you might want to follow us, because what we're going to do is we're going to start doing this as a hybrid in the future. But right now we're just kind of working out all the kinks. But essentially every month we're having a massive lineup come and share and grow. And so the two things that we promote is networking. We want people to network, shake hands with everybody, and meet other individuals that are in the business. And the other thing is learning. So there's also the learning component, Mike, and you're there on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, November 15th at 7:00. You're a keynote speaker and talking about raising capital, which is really, really hard right now. But essentially, the biggest component I think that sets us apart from others is that learning can be fun. Learning and networking can be fun, not scary and boring. And so we just get into the room. We have a lot of fun. There is a bar there. For those of you that need to take the edge off, we have that option as well. And we just have a ton of fun. Yeah. And we're just so excited about having you, honestly. And anybody who wants to come in the Savvy Network and come and join us and meet you. And I know Jay Deep's going to be there. Mario, I see Mario's on. So you're quite welcome for our time here, Mario. I mean, we just love actually giving back and helping people. So here we are.
Yeah.
And Danielle,
honored.
It's for our community, like, and to be a part of the community, all you have to do is know us, right? So there's really no catch, there's no trick. It's just like, you've been here, you've seen us, you've heard about us. Go pick up a ticket and come on in the room. So
yeah, I thought I recognized some weird guy in the middle there. So I guess that's me. They're just kind of being presenting. So anyway, it's going to be an awesome event. So
there we go.
Yeah. Where's the goatee?
This goatee. Like I grew this just for Kory, because he can't be the only sexy goatee guy in real estate community. There has to be two of us, Kory, to be honest, right? No, I'm just joking. This thing's coming off soon. Yeah,
you both wear well.
Good. Checks in the mail. Okay. So with that being said, guys, I am looking forward to the event. It's going to be a great session. Lots of great speakers. I'm honestly honored to be part of this. So for those that are joining us live, thanks for joining us live. I do appreciate you guys coming out live, watching the recording. If you are in Ontario, come out. Let's talk. Let's share. Let's break some bread and help support each other in some of the things that are happening there today. I know there's going to be a lot of great discussion. So, guys, can't thank you guys enough. I really appreciate you guys jumping on here on a Sunday. And as we kind of wrap things up for today's session, for those, again, just as a friendly reminder, thanks again for watching the YouTube live. Thanks for those that are watching the recording. If you've got questions or comments, throw it on the chat, even if it's the recording. We're happy to provide some answers. If it's not myself answering, I'm sure Kory and Danielle will be happy and honored to respond accordingly. So again, just as we wrap things up, again, do us a favor. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so, as we continue to upload new videos each and every single week to help support you. Again, guys, thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at our next upcoming YouTube Live. Cheers.